guys! Welcome back to Melanie On Demand. Nabitin ba kayo sa first video? This is the second part of our Alberta versus Nova Scotia video series wherein we are comparing the geography, schools, part-time work, living conditions, and the PR pathways of the two provinces. Kasama ko pa rin si MC Guzman from SLE Canada, and in this video, we will focus on schools, particularly sa SAIT versus NSCC kung saan kami nag-aral. Like always, I hope you learned something from here, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this to your friends. Enjoy! So let's move on to the next topic. It's about the schools. Before you start this video, make sure you watch the first part. Link in the description box below. So let's move on to the next topic. It's about the schools. So most of our viewers right now are study permit applicants or who are aspiring to be students here in Canada. Yes. So let's talk about the different schools in Alberta and Nova Scotia, the tuition fees and the scholarships probably, and what are the programs that are most common and available to both provinces. Okay, let's start with schools. You go first. What are the famous schools in Nova Scotia?
So, maraming school din sa Nova Scotia. Pero pagdating sa community college, ang wala kang choice kundi Nova Scotia Community College lang. Yun talaga. Pero pag university, teka, may listahan ako. Acadia University, malapit to dun sa tinirhan ko dati. Medyo mahal dito. So, syempre, pag university, medyo pricey. So, pang mga kilalang university sa Nova Scotia, Acadia, Dalhousie, St. Mary's, St. Mount Vincent, yan yung mga kilalang university. So, maraming school. Pero pagdating sa community college, Nova Scotia Community College lang ang option mo.
Oh, okay. So sa Alberta, in terms of schools and DLIs, okay, designated learning institutions para sa mga international students, meron talagang dalawang very famous polytechnic, that's what they call here, sa Alberta, which is the SAIT or Southern Alberta Institute of Technology kung saan ako nag-aral. It's located in Calgary, Alberta. And the other one is NAIT or Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, which is located in Edmonton, which is 3 hours away from Calgary. So both of these institutions, they are DLIs, and you can get PGWP if you studied in those schools. Let's move on to the programs, okay? Maraming programs available dun sa SAIT at NAIT. So, particularly, it's good kasi para siyang technical program. So, para sa mga international students na meron ng bachelor's degree, you don't really have to study another degree because it's gonna take you like 3 or 4 years again. Who wants to study that long? I mean, if you are really aiming to become a permanent resident and student is your pathway, you don't want to study so long, right? So sa SAIT at NAIT, maraming 1-year at 2-year programs na available para sa international students. So but the thing is, medyo pricey sa SAIT at NAIT. Meron ding ibang mga schools like Norquest College, I believe. And Keano, right? You're part of Keano College.
Oo, Keano. Although, ang napansin ko sa Keano is hindi nila lahat in-offer yung program sa international students.
Yeah, that's right. So, how are the programs sa NSCC?
Sa NSCC, nag-pull out ako ng mabilisan lang. So, sa NSCC, since wala kang masyadong option na school, ang NSCC naman ay merong campuses. So, spread siya throughout Nova Scotia. Okay. So, although yun lang ang option mo, marami naman siyang campuses. Tapos, marami din siyang mga programs. So, meron silang mga businesses, meron sa IT, meron silang IT campus. Tapos, meron din silang, actually, kilala yung IT campus, parang yun yung pinaka-main campus ng NSCC. Tapos, meron sa mga practical nursing, early childhood education. So, more on, talaga siya. Anong tawag dito? Practical experience. Yun ang mapapansin mo sa community college, di ba? Pero kung mga tipong magbo-bachelor ka, wala nun sa Nova
That's
Scotia
right.
community.
So,
Mga theory based.
let me understand, no? So, ang sinasabi mo is marami siyang campuses and are the campuses specializing in specific course?
Merong mga campuses na specifically for geography, mga ganon. Kasi parang ganon yung muntik ng kunin ni Felix nun sa geography. Tapos doon siya sa Lunenburg campus. So malayo siya. Meron isa na IT campus, more on IT program sila. So ganun yung sa Nova Scotia Community College. Tapos meron silang sa mga media. So maraming categories talaga na pagpipilian ka. But then again, if you're looking at upgrade, ito nag-ano lang siya, diploma lang. Konti lang yung mga advanced diploma nila.
Okay.
So yun.
So ano ba ang capital ng Nova Scotia ay Halifax, am I right?
Halifax.
So
Halifax.
meron bang NSCC campus sa Halifax?
Yes. Parang
meron
may
din.
dalawa sila dun. May dalawa sila.
So where did you study then sa ang campus
Sa
ng
liblib
NSCC?
na lugar na... So, wala ako sa city, guys. Hindi ako doon nag-aral. Doon ako sa King's Tech campus. So, 45 minutes away from the city.
Halifax.
So,
Okay,
yun.
okay.
Pero
I
narating ko na yung ibang campuses niya. Kasi nga masyado kaming magala. So, na-drive na namin yung... Nakita namin yung ibang campuses. So, mas malayo na campus, sa mga liblib na lugar, mas maliit na campus.
Okay.
Ganon. So, sa Halifax, mas malaking school talaga siya kasi mas marami silang kina-accommodate na students. So, maraming Pilipino nasa Halifax.
Okay,
Yun.
kasi nga city. Sa SAIT naman, there's only, as far as I know, there's only one campus sa SAIT, but it's quite big. Yeah, it's quite big. Like, there's a lot of buildings doon sa loob ng campus. If you're watching my vlogs, you'll see I like posting doon sa harap ng parang Harry Potter building. That's the Heritage Building actually. So, maraming buildings doon. May science building, may engineering building, may mga para sa business. So, yeah, so it's like a big campus in one location and it's attached to a train station. So, napakadali ng transportation wise. Doon sa sa SAIT. And it's the same as sa NAIT dito sa Edmonton. It's also attached to a train station. And I believe sa NAIT meron din silang ibang campus. I'm just not very sure kung ano-ano yung mga yun. Yun. Okay. So, tuition fee.
So, tuition fee, nung time ko 10,300 per year.
That's for a year?
Base tuition fee lang to Siyempre, meron ka pang miscellaneous, ganyan. Ganun
But
siya
that's
kababa
cheap!
nung time ko. Tapos,
Yeah.
walang IELTS nung time ko noon. Actually, kayo din, wala kayong IELTS, diba?
Yeah, for specific nationalities.
Yes. Pero, ngayon, guys, marami pa rin nagtatanong, ma-waive ko ba yung English? Hindi nyo na siya ma-waive.
Really?
Unfortunately. Hindi na.
Okay.
Naghigpit sila. Tapos, ang tuition fee na ngayon is almost 11,800. So, always
For a year.
Keep that in mind na every year nag-i-increase ang school. So, kung patatagalin nyo pa itong Canadian dream nyo, expect nyo na lang na mas mataas na yung tuition fee by the time na mag-a-apply na kayo ng study permit.
So, that's high sa inyo.
Para sa akin, mataas siya.
So eto na. Eto na yon, guys. Eto na, hindi fake news. Kung about 12,000 ang tuition fee ni na MC sa Nova Scotia, I just want to let you know, sa SAIT, that's just above one semester. And I believe most of the courses for international students sa SAIT, it ranges from 8,000 to 10,000 per semester. So, that's really expensive. So, if may
May nanalo na.
So if money is your concern, yung tuition fee, really try to look into Nova Scotia kasi sa SAIT, sa NAIT, and meron din namang mura dito sa Alberta, pero as what I'm saying, I can only speak based on my experience, and my experience is based sa SAIT at NAIT. It's really expensive in terms of tuition fees. My tuition is 10,000 per semester. So, 4 semesters, 40,000. Tumataginting.
But then again, sa SAIT yun. Kasi kung
Yeah, sa
i-compare
SAIT
mo
yun.
sa Keanu, since medyo may alam ako sa Keanu. Keanu is
Keanu.
almost the same as Nova Scotia Community College.
Okay, that's nice.
Nasa 11,000 din siya. So, mura yun per year.
That's a good option, yung Keanu na sinasabi ni MC. But remember, Keanu is located in Fort Mac.
Sa mataas siya. So,
Fort McMurray, yeah.
ano yung snow doon. So, mag-ready
Yeah, bukod
kayo.
sa extreme weather conditions, less population, nandun din actually yung bulk ng oil and gas sa Alberta. So if you're in that industry, it's actually good to look into Keanu as well. Pero kung hindi, baka medyo mahirap. I'm not really sure. I haven't been there. Baka mahirap humanap ng part-time or whatever.
Nakatingin si Felix sa Alberta. Nag-work siya dyan for, I think, 3 months.
Sa Fort
Doon siya nakaipon. Sa oil and gas.
Oh,
Doon
that's
siya
nice.
nakaipon ng sobrang malaking pera. Kasi sobrang laki ng pasahod nila sa...
Yes, that's right.
Sa oil
That
and
was
gas.
before though. Ngayon hindi.
Hindi ko lang alam
Yeah.
ngayon. That was like, years ago na
Yeah.
yun. Pero, madali siya nakahanap ng work noong time na yun.
So, let's move on to scholarships. So, sa scholarship, guys, most of us know na international students are not qualified for scholarships dito kasi akala nila mayaman tayo, di ba? Actually, we should have money for our tuition and living expenses kasi kasama yun sa proof of funds ng application, right?
Yes.
Pero I found out when I was at SAIT, meron ding available scholarships for international students actually. So, I advise na pumunta kayo sa international center ng school nyo, or at least if you're not yet here, browse the international center of the particular school of interest and search for international students scholarships. Sa case ko, bawat program sa amin, meron actually mga nagsisponsor na na mga companies to give scholarship. So it's not that much. Sometimes it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, ganyan. Pero you have to apply for it. They won't pick you from the pool of students and they will give you scholarship. No, you have to apply for it. And sometimes may essay doon, kailangan mong sabihin why do you need a scholarship, and sometimes may grade requirements din. So in my case, yung mga nakuha kong scholarships, it's based on highest grade achievement. So dahil hindi ako qualified, or international students, we are not qualified for financial assistance. So, ang tinarget ko talaga nun is yung grade achievement, highest grade achievement. Yeah, merit-based scholarship. What about the scholarship sa NSCC?
So, sa NSCC, ganun din siya. So, meron siyang mga private scholarship na i-sponsor ka ng company. Meron silang bursaries. Meron silang parang, wala sila yung parang entrance scholarship ng ibang school. Wala kaming
Yeah,
ganun.
mostly wala.
Oo. So, yun, same lang din sa SAIT. Meron din namang available scholarship para sa international students. Tapos, although, yun nga, sa bursaries, mas pinaprioritize nila yung mga Canadian citizen. Kasi nag-apply si Felix noon, hindi rin siya natanggap. Although, ang taas nung grade niya. Hindi rin siya natanggap kasi nga, dapat alam mo kung saan ka nag-apply na scholarship. Kundi mo, hindi ka matatanggap na sa bursaries. Usually, ang bursaries kasi is based sa financial needs mo. So, hindi mo naman pwedeng sabihin na wala kang, fund. Pumunta ka dito.
Usually, naka-state naman yun dun sa requirements, di ba?
Oo.
Ng scholarship.
So, doon siya nag-apply. Hindi siya natanggap.
Nakakuha ka ba ng scholarship nung time?
Kumuha ako, pero hindi siya scholarship, more on kasi ako, volunteer.
Oh, okay. So,
sa mga
volunteer, you can
volunteer
get scholarships?
Na ginagawa ko, may bayad. Hindi yung
that's
volunteer,
nice.
may bayad.
Oh,
so, meron silang
okay.
binibigay na pera.
Yeah. Mhm.
Pagka,
That's nice.
volunteer ka for one sem, may ibibigay sila. So, yun yung parang nag-international ambassador ako ng NSCC. Pero hindi ako nag-apply ng scholarship kasi yun nga, hindi ako aware noong time na yun na pwede pala ang international student. Kaya nung sa video namin na parang yung expectation versus reality
Yes,
namin,
I've watched that, yeah.
na hindi ako aware sa scholarship. Yun yung
So guys, just to let you know, so MC has a YouTube channel, diba? In Study, Live, Explore Canada. And she's partnered with a lot of schools actually here in Canada. And she's helping students to process their letter of acceptance, including scholarships as well, right?
Oo,
so can you
maraming
tell us
school.
a little bit more about that?
Ngayon ko na lang din siya na-realize na marami palang scholarship. Kunwari, si Niagara, may 2,000 siyang entrance scholarship. Hindi lahat ng school may entrance scholarship. Wala ang ganun yung
That's
SAIT,
nice.
di ba? Wala ganun
Usually wala.
Nova Scotia Community College. Si Selkirk, meron din naman siya. Pero usually, yung mga murang school, wala silang mga entrance scholarship kasi mura na nga yung tuition fee nila. So, ang best example is Niagara College talaga. Meron talagang silang scholarship na binibigay na nila pagka nag-apply ka na ng letter of acceptance. Nakalagay na yun sa letter of acceptance mo.
Wow.
Oo, na 2,000.
So what will make you qualify for those entrance scholarships?
From the word itself, kailangan mo lang na enrolled ka. So, during entrance, doon mo na siya i-apply na interested ka sa scholarship. Tapos, usually, ang may maintaining grade. Pero 80% lang, hindi naman yung sobrang taas. So, achievable ang 80%. Tapos, yung iba, kailangan ng IELTS. Kung may IELTS ka, may mga ganung school na kung meron kang IELTS, meron kang makukuhang parang scholarship. Mga 1,000 din yun. So, yun. Yung mga partner ko kasi is more on affordable talaga siya. Ang pinakamahal ko na lang talaga is Niagara. Kasi, pinopromote ko lang siya sa nurses.
Okay.
Andun kasi lang yung
Yeah, so
program.
make sure
yun.
to check her
Check the
YouTube channel and your
website.
website. Yeah, website for more information.
Yep.
Okay. So, finally, we're done with our second topic, and then let's move on to the third topic, which is part-time work.